Looking at the Markets with David Modell. Hello and welcome to Looking at the Markets with David Modell. I'm super excited to bring you opportunities in the markets and the experts, the world's leaders and mavericks, and people who are taking startups to new levels so that the world can be a better, healthier place, and maybe, just maybe, we can all profit from it. The gentleman I have with me that you're watching right now is Mr. Mitchell Scott, CEO of Very Good Food and Very Good Butchers. If you're interested in the company, you'll want to check out verygoodbutchers.com. And I'll try not to butcher this one. It is on the CSE exchange, ticker symbol VERY, V-E-R-Y. Great ticker there, easy to remember. On the OTC markets, VRYYF. Mr. Mitchell Scott, welcome to Looking at the Markets, sir.
Perfect. Thanks very much for having me.
Well, it's very rare that I get it perfect, and I'm sure I won't, but I'm very glad to have you on the show. You're very generous to say that. I want to talk about some major opportunities here. COVID-19 is changing many businesses and industries. It's forcing them to change fundamentally. You're in the foods business, both with retail restaurant locations, a butcher shop, wholesale to major chains and online sales, along with running a newly listed stock. So what is your schedule like? And do you think that there are opportunities in this crisis for entrepreneurs such as yourself?
Yeah. In terms of schedule, it changes day to day. It's a little hectic sometimes, but it's good, I like being busy. In terms of opportunities, absolutely. I think there's a ton of opportunities, even during crisis. As you mentioned before, we kind of have almost three different main lines of business. And so during COVID, we kind of repositioned some of those. For example, our restaurant butcher shop, we, obviously way less people or no people were going to restaurants for a while. We're lucky on the West Coast, we didn't get hit as hard as other parts of the world or the West Coast of Canada here. But basically, we reduced our hours. We shifted to more of a delivery model. So with, Uber Eats, Skip the Dishes, we kind of shifted our focus towards our e-commerce operations. We've had, e-commerce running for years, but saw kind of a surge in interest, kind of due to COVID, also due to a new marketing partnership we rolled out. So, our online sales just kind of took off. And we also saw really good growth in our grocery store sales. I think that's just because more people are cooking at home, stocking up at the grocery store, et cetera.
Yeah. Now, in your industry, which is, I would call it the meat replacement plant-based foods industry, your world revolves around making customers that want a protein experience without getting it from animals. It's about texture and taste. But what is the process like trying to find something that customers will love? And how much research and development is involved in getting the food to taste great and get that experience?
Yeah, it's a great question, and you nailed it there. So taste and texture are huge. So my business partner, James, is a classically trained French chef. He'd been cooking for about 13, 14 years. He's from England, actually, originally. But he has a very, very good understanding of flavor and how to flavor things, how to spice things properly. So he is the one who did all of our initial research and development. The first products he came up with were burgers and English breakfast sausages. He's since expanded it to a range of about 15 products, everything from, bacon to ribs to steaks to pepperoni, deli meats. I don't want to say the taste part was easy for him, but it was a little bit easier because he already had this understanding of flavor. The texture is a whole nother ball game, and something we're still working on to this day. Our whole kind of ethos is just to keep a very clean ingredient deck. So all ingredients you need to understand. So beans, veggies, herbs and spices, a bit of wheat flour to bind it all together. So as a result, it can be difficult to achieve that texture without using different fillers or gums or additives. But we've managed to get pretty close, and I'm pretty happy with our products. Well, I'm very happy with our products. And it's basically just we're cooking together, a mix of beans and veggies. We're adding this wheat flour to it, which kind of turns it into a dough. That dough then gets shaped, into sausages, burgers, and then steamed. And once it's steamed, it has this kind of meaty chew and texture to it. It's called seitan. And then moving forward, we actually have an R&D team based in Vancouver that's been working for the past year, and they're kind of working the next generation of products for us. And they're looking at different protein sources, like we're looking at fava bean protein and all these other different ways of creating our products while still keeping that clean ingredient profile.
Yeah. Now, there is a show called Dragon's Den, and in Canada, it's basically the equivalent of Shark Tank in America. It's a very popular show where people who have startups go on the program and they pitch to investors. And, sometimes they bite and sometimes they don't. So how much do you think the Dragon's Den investors are crying right now over not pulling the trigger on this opportunity, this company early on? What do you think?
Yeah, I think they might be kicking themselves a little bit. Just as, I guess, a bit of backstory. So we were on Dragon's Den, I want to say a couple years ago. We filmed in April, and I think it aired in, I want to say December of 2018 probably. It was a Christmas special. And we had a great kind of experience on the show. We had offers from 5 of the 6 dragons. I think they kind of got excited and were bidding against each other. We ended up doing a handshake deal for $750,000 plus $1 million interest-free loan for 10% of the company. So valuing us at $7.5 million at the time, which was a great valuation for us back then. And unfortunately, we went through due diligence process. And after it was all said and done, they decided not to invest. Well, they ended up offering something much lower than what they'd agreed to on TV. So we kind of walked away from the deal and were able to raise at that same valuation through a crowdfunding. So I think now, seeing the valuation now at 100 over north of 100 million, they're probably kicking themselves for not getting in at 7.5, a year and a half ago. But hey, I mean, I think this show is more of an entertaining kind of businessy show than a serious show about deal making. Like from what I've heard, something like 80 to 90% of the deals on these shows end up falling through afterwards.
Yeah, absolutely. Once again, I'm speaking with Mr. Mitchell Scott, CEO of Very Good Food and Very Good Butchers. If you want more information, please visit verygoodbutchers.com. If you're interested in the stock on the CSE exchange, Very, VERY, on the OTC markets, VRYYF. And I want to know, as somebody who's interested in this sector, how much growth and demand is there for your products, and where do you think the company's going to be in, let's say, 12 months or even 24 months?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think the whole space has just been taking off over the past few years. There's a ton of demand. There's a ton of interest in plant-based eating, for multiple reasons, ethical, environmental, health, and just the products are getting so good. It almost, you're not really missing out on anything, right? And some of these products are so good. And in terms of where I think in terms of demand, we've been production limited since day one. We have a waiting list of grocery stores that want to carry our product. We're having to cap the amount of online orders we take, and we're doing everything we can to scale up our production as quickly as possible to keep up with this kind of demand and to access that pent-up demand. In 12 months to a year, so we've got 2 kind of major projects we're working on right now, both related to making more products so that we can meet this demand. One is in Vancouver. So we're in Victoria, west coast of Canada. So it's a 10,000 square foot facility. It's going to be our new headquarters. It's going to be about 7,000 feet of production space. Currently, we've got about 4,000 feet in Victoria. It's going to be a butcher shop, restaurant, test kitchen, R&D lab, office space. So that should be able to kind of provide enough product to satisfy the Canadian market. Then we've also signed a lease for a facility in California. And that's quite a bit bigger. It's 25,000 square feet. We've got a right of first refusal on an additional 25,000 square feet. And that's going to be able to make, $90 million worth of product or so per year, at least initially, just as we can. And then we have room to further expand that. And that's going to be to serve the U.S. market, both in retail, wholesale, and then also online.
Yeah, Very Good Food, Very Good Butchers coming to America, coming to California, if I'm correct. And We're talking about huge production volumes potentially. This is it's kind of like the Beatles coming to America, right? I think it's huge. And also big news in the last financing that you just completed, accredited investors, millionaires, institutional money, they paid $1.30 Canadian per share, and they received a $2 Canadian warrant. That means they can only profit if the stock goes above $2. It's currently not there yet, so I believe this is still early stage, and they're going to want to see it go over that price. And they believe that it will, obviously, otherwise they wouldn't have made that investment. What do these sophisticated investors, what are they seeing that got them so excited? What do you think?
I think the big thing they're seeing is that, I mean, I think they see what we need to do, right? We need to scale up our operations and increase our production capacity. And once we've done that, we've got all this pent up demand. So accessing those, those higher sales volumes are going to come as a result of that increased production capacity. I mean, currently when we closed that round, our run rate was probably around 5-6 million or so per year. So if we can get this production online, we could be up at 40 to 60 million plus per year within the next year or so. Obviously, if you take the multiple on sales and apply it to that much higher sales figure, you can project a much higher stock price. So I think that's what got them excited. Also, I think the market itself, a lot of interest in the space. There's a few other companies in the space, but I think there's maybe one or two other public companies in the space. And we were the second one to IPO. So I think they still think there's a lot of room to grow in the market. And I think they like the company. They like our products, our positioning, our branding. I think it's just kind of a combination.
Yeah, I view this as a global phenomenon. Today, Canada, tomorrow, USA. I mean, where else are you targeting, both in the US and elsewhere? I mean, are you really going global with this?
Yeah, so the big focus in the next, let's say year 1 to 2 years is kind of capture that North American market with direct to consumer e-commerce, but also with wholesale retail. Then we'd love to go to Europe and potentially Australia and the Asia region, APAC. So the idea would be let's say go to Europe, set up a flagship butcher store. We kind of see them as marketing branding tools. Set up manufacturing, just basically use the same playbook. So roll out e-commerce, roll out retail wholesale, and then kind of go from there and go global.
Yeah, you saw him on Dragon's Den. Now you saw him on Looking at the Markets. Very good, sir. I don't know if that's an upgrade or not, but hey, we're so proud to have you here. This is David Modell, Looking at the Markets. We've been speaking with Mr. Mitchell Scott. You got to go to www.verygoodbutchers.com to get more information. I don't want people to invest in something until they know what they own, okay? So learn about the company. But if you want an early stage opportunity in this growing plant-based meat alternatives market, this is one way to do it, and this is a company in hyper growth mode as I see it. So check that out. I'll put the link in the description below this video to go to the website. Mr. Mitchell Scott, we'll have to have you back here for an update, not only on the California facility, but on the global takeover that's in progress. Thank you for coming on Looking at the Markets. Appreciate it today.
Thanks so much, David. Cheers. Have a good one.